Explore the Berlin Wall's dramatic story, its rise, its impact, and its fall moments that changed history. As the world emerged from the shadows of a devastating war, the echoes of conflict brought forth a new era. This is the story of a city divided, a symbol of the Cold War, and its eventual fall that reshaped the world. In 1945, as the Second World War drew to a close, the world witnessed the downfall of a tyrant. Adolf Hitler's defeat marked not just the end of a war, but the beginning of a long journey towards recovery. The war left its scars across the globe. Millions had perished, cities lay in ruins, and the world mourned the loss of an entire generation. In the war's aftermath, three leaders emerged to redraw the world's map: Joseph Stalin, Winston Churchill, and Franklin Delano Roosevelt met to decide the fate of a war-torn Europe. It was on a simple napkin that they sketched a line dividing Europe beginning from Germany's capital. Now, the city is divided into East Berlin and West Berlin, setting the stage for the Cold War. This division was more than geographical. It was ideological, a precursor to a new kind of war. One fought not with bullets, but with ideas, espionage, and political chess. Thus began the story of the Berlin Wall. Join me in the next chapter as we delve deeper into the Cold War's escalating tensions and the Berlin Wall's role in this global chess game. As the dust of war settled, a new barrier arose, not just mortar, but of ideology and fear. This chapter unveils the story of the Berlin Wall, a concrete manifestation of a divided world. On the night of August 13, 1961, the East German government undertook a secret operation. Under the cover of darkness, soldiers began erecting a barrier that would become the Berlin Wall. In the heart of Europe, a city was cleaved in two. Overnight, families were separated, streets were cut off, and a once unified Berlin found itself divided by a formidable barrier. The wall, stretching over 155 kilometers, stood as a grim sentinel. It was more than just concrete and steel. It was lined with watchtowers, anti-vehicle trenches, and barbed wire. It wasn't just a physical barrier. It was a symbol of the ideological chasm between East and West. Life on either side of the wall was starkly different. In the West, freedom and prosperity flourished. In the East, under the watchful eye of the Stasi, life was marked by surveillance and scarcity. The wall tore apart the fabric of Berlin. Tales of daring escapes and tragic losses became commonplace. As years passed, the wall transformed from a mere structure to a potent symbol of the Cold War. It stood as a constant reminder of a world divided, a world where freedom was not a given, but a dream for many. Stay with me as we journey through the tension, the hope, and the eventual crumbling of the Berlin Wall, a pivotal moment in history that redefined freedom. In the shadow of the wall, a vigilant watch was kept. This chapter delves into the lives of those who guarded the Iron Curtain and the desperate souls who dared to challenge it. Day and night, East German guards patrolled the wall. Their orders were clear: prevent any crossing at all costs. These sentinels of the Cold War were both enforcers and prisoners of the ideology they represented. The wall was fortified with a lethal arsenal, guard dogs, floodlights, and over 300 watchtowers. A death strip, a no man's land between two walls, was a deadly trap for anyone attempting to flee. Despite the peril, many attempted the impossible escape. Their stories range from ingenious plans to heart-wrenching failures. The wall witnessed many tragedies. Over 100 souls perished in their quest for freedom, each leaving behind a tale of bravery and desperation. The wall didn't just divide a city, it tore apart families. Loved ones were separated by an impassable barrier, their reunions a distant dream. The presence of the wall had a profound effect on the psyche of a nation. It was a constant reminder of the divided world and the fragile nature of freedom. In the heart of Berlin stood Checkpoint Charlie, a symbol of Cold War tensions and a stage for one of the era's most dramatic standoffs. It was here that the ideologies of the East and West collided under the watchful eyes of soldiers and spies. October 1961 witnessed a perilous moment. American and Soviet tanks faced off, mere meters apart, their guns aimed. The tension was palpable, the threat of escalation a reality. This standoff wasn't just a military confrontation, it was a political chess game. The fate of nations hung in the balance, as leaders from both sides maneuvered for dominance without triggering a full-scale war. The world watched, anxiously awaiting the outcome. Media from across the globe reported on the standoff, capturing the tense atmosphere and the potential for disaster. Soldiers who manned the tanks and checkpoints recount the tension, the orders, and the fear of what could have been. Their stories provide a human perspective on this historical moment. This war symbol transcended its military purpose, influencing popular culture. It appeared in films, books, and art, symbolizing the absurdity and drama of the Cold War. The events at Checkpoint Charlie had lasting effects on Berlin and the world. It reminded the citizens of the fragility of peace and the importance of diplomatic resolution. Checkpoint Charlie stood as a stark reminder of a world divided, a world where the specter of war was a constant presence. Yet, it also represented the hope for dialogue and understanding between opposing powers. In a world where secrets held the power to alter the course of history, spies became the hidden warriors of the Cold War. This chapter uncovers the clandestine operations and the high-stakes exchanges of spies between the superpowers. The Cold War era was the golden age of espionage. Both the Soviet Union and the United States developed vast networks of spies, gathering crucial intelligence and engaging in covert operations. From the infamous Kim Philby to the daring exploits of Oleg Penkovsky, spies played a pivotal role in the Cold War's narrative. Their stories read like pages from a thriller novel, yet they were all too real. The art of espionage was not just in the shadowy meetings, it was also in the technology. From hidden cameras to coded messages, the tools of the trade were as ingenious as they were effective. The information gathered by spies could change the tide of political decisions, prevent conflicts, or exacerbate them. The impact of their work rippled through the halls of power. Being a spy was a dangerous game. Captured spies faced harsh interrogations, imprisonment, or even death. Yet, many took these risks, driven by ideology, patriotism, or the thrill of the covert world. The world of espionage was a reflection of the societies it served. It highlighted the paranoia, the ingenuity, and the lengths nations would go to in the name of national security. The shadowy realm of Spies during the Cold War was a chess game played in the dark, where every move was critical. It was a world where trust was scarce, and the stakes were nothing less than the global balance of power. As we leave the clandestine world of Spies, our story moves towards the events that led to the fall of the Berlin Wall. Join us in the next chapter as we explore the stirring movements for freedom that swept across Eastern Europe. Preview of the next episode featuring protests, political leaders, and the crumbling of the wall. As the 1980 years progressed, the winds of change began to sweep across the Eastern Bloc. Leaders like Mikhail Gorbachev, with his policies of glasnost and perestroika, began advocating for openness and restructuring. These ideas resonated beyond the Soviet Union, igniting hope in the hearts of many. International pressures also played a role. President Ronald Reagan famously urged Mr. Gorbachev, "Tear down this wall."
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
These words echoed around the world, symbolizing the global desire for the wall's end. Inside East Germany, the regime faced increasing discontent. Economic stagnation and a lack of freedoms led to growing unrest among the population. The signs of the wall's fall were becoming evident. Border restrictions were slowly easing, and East Germans began to demand more rights, culminating in massive demonstrations. Media played a crucial role in spreading the message of change. Both Western and Eastern media covered the unfolding events, bringing the reality of the situation to a global audience. Elsewhere in Eastern Europe, countries were beginning to break away from Soviet influence. These movements emboldened the German population and weakened the hold of the East German government. The confluence of political will, international pressure, and popular demand was creating a perfect storm. The Berlin Wall, once thought impregnable, was showing cracks, both literally and figuratively. As we conclude this chapter of political voices and early signs, we prepare to witness the climax of this historical saga, the fall of the Berlin Wall. The 9th of November, 1989, marked a pivotal moment in history. This section captures the night the Berlin Wall fell, a night of jubilation, tears, and a world forever changed. The climax that led to the fall of the wall was the confusion at a government press conference where an unexpected announcement was made. Private travel outside the country can now be applied for without prerequisites. This news spread like wildfire, drawing crowds to the wall. East and West Berliners converged at the wall, armed not with anger. The sounds of the wall being chipped away were the sounds of liberation. The world watched in awe. International leaders hailed the event as a victory for freedom and a new beginning for Europe and the world. In Germany, the fall of the wall sparked immediate discussions about reunification. It was a time of optimism, but also of uncertainty about the future. The fall of the wall symbolized the end of the Cold War and the triumph of the human spirit over division. It was a testament to the power of peaceful protest and the irrepressible desire for freedom. The euphoria of that night was mixed with reflection. People remembered those who had suffered or died at the wall, understanding that this joyous moment was also a time for healing. The fall of the Berlin Wall reshaped the geopolitical landscape. It opened the door to a united Europe and raised questions about the future of global politics. The night the Berlin Wall fell was not just the end of a barrier, it was the beginning of a new era. It was a night that proved that walls can divide land, but they can never divide the human spirit. Decades after its fall, the Berlin Wall continues to resonate in the collective consciousness. This final chapter explores the wall's enduring legacy and its place in modern history. Today, remnants of the wall stand as powerful symbols of a divided past and a reminder of the struggle for freedom. The wall's history provides valuable lessons about the dangers of division and the importance of unity. It serves as a cautionary tale for future generations about the consequences of ideological extremism. The Berlin Wall has left an indelible mark on culture and arts. It has inspired countless works of literature, film, and music, each reflecting the profound impact of this divide. Politically, the wall's legacy is evident in ongoing discussions about national sovereignty, border security, and international cooperation. It remains a reference point in global politics. For those who lived in its shadow, the wall's memory is personal. Their stories continue to shape perceptions and offer a human dimension to the historical narrative. In modern Germany, the wall's legacy influences national identity. It is a reminder of a painful past, but also a symbol of hope, showing how far the country has come since reunification. The Berlin Wall, more than just a physical barrier, was a symbol of a world divided.